Hi there, Zamir for NerdTube. These are my thoughts and spoilers of The Boys, Season 4, Episode 5, Beware of the Jabberwocky, My Son. An absolute packed episode of The Boys. So much going on. Returning characters as well. Let's talk about it. I want to get the most tragic part out of the way, and that was Huey and his dad and his mum. As we all know, at the end of the previous episode, Huey gave his dad Compound V because his dad was going to die. But by doing so, his dad ended up being a bit doolally. He has powers where he's able to, merge through walls and shit like that. A bit like Kitty Pryde, all of those sort of things. But he's unable to understand his powers. He's also losing his mind a little bit too, not realizing that Huey's a grown man and not an 11-year-old kid. Also seeing his wife as well, and then having a grudge against his wife for leaving him and Huey when they were younger. And the carnage Simon Pegg's character does in this is incredible. Like, he's running around, merging through walls, and then becoming solid again. And when he's doing this, when he's becoming solid at times, he's doing it whilst he's around people and he's inside somebody's body, and he becomes solid, and that person's just dead. And then he loses his mind even more. It's really funny and tragic and crazy. It's good to see Simon Pegg in a proper episode of Boys, not just a little sprinkling of him, but really having a really good moment. And it's understandable why he was so full on in this episode, even though he was part of the subplot. It's because he does have his send off. You see, he was supposed to die until Huey saved him with Compound V. It was an unnatural way of reviving his dad, and then Huey kind of realizes that the only way he can save his dad is by killing his dad. And so he gives him the tonic that was going to euthanize him, telling his dad that, yeah, okay, we're going to save you, we're going to stop all of this, not really explaining to him that, yeah, I'm sorry dad, you're going to die. And it's a real sad moment, with Huey, his mum, his dad all together. Huey's dad dying, his mum and Huey realizing this. Very sad. And yeah, I give props, so long Simon Pegg, you were really good when you were in this, and yeah, we're going to be missed. On to the other characters. Now we have other subplots as well. We'll go to the seven themselves. They all know there's a mole. That mole obviously is A-Train. He's giving information to other people like the boys, and somebody else ends up taking the fall for being the mole, and that's the character who kind of plays the Bill O'Reilly guy. Like, I'm trying to see if I can see him on my IMDb, but I don't see him. He's like the newscaster for Vought, and I don't see him, so unfortunately his name of the character escapes me. But he kind of takes the brunt. If as far as Vought are concerned, he's the leak. He's not the leak, obviously, but Vought themselves, Homelander has big aspirations, but after being with his son, and his son wants to do some real superheroing, not making shitty films, wants to help people, he tries to help, make his son fulfill his dreams by helping somebody. And so one of the people they help is the director's assistant of the Vought movies, and the director himself being a bit of an arsehole, and the assistant feeling a bit uncomfortable around that director. They kind of pick up on that, and they tell the assistant, why don't you slap your director about a bit, make him, let him, he'll apologize to you, all of these things. And this is initially not what Ryan, Homelander's son, wanted to do regarding helping people, but because obviously Homelander is still able to manipulate his son here and there at times, even though you do feel that there is a chance for Ryan to be a good guy, with Homelander by his side, unfortunately, he can be manipulated to be the bad guy. And yeah, this moment with the assistant beating the shit out of the director, and from being funny ends up being a bit creepy, a bit fucked up, and a bit dark. But going back to the Bill O'Reilly guy, who is being falsely accused of being the leak, Homelander then realizes, okay, look, we need to be gods here. We're going to rule the world. I mean, that's the sort of idea and aspirations he has. So it's no longer making movies saying that we're going to be heroes. We're going to fucking take over everything. But first of all, we need to stop these leaks. And so he brings in Bill O'Reilly. and has his entire Vought crew beat the shit out of him, including some of the guys from Gen V who have crossed over into this episode as well. So we get a bit of a Gen V crossover, more so than you can think, because obviously in Gen V we had the virus, and that virus comes into play in this episode too, through Billy Butcher's contact, Joe Kessler. They know about a place that has been making this virus that will kill soups. It's some farm which is really it's a farm that is an actual undercover laboratory. Victoria Newman comes on the scene, so does Stan Edgar, who was in jail but has been let out of jail to help the boys in order to get this this virus. But Victoria Newman's obviously interested because she's got a connection with Stan Edgar as well. So the boys, Stan Edgar, Victoria Newman, and a few bits of cannon fodder here and there, are all at this farm, you know, trying to find the virus. And they come across all types of crazy things like killer chickens, you know, vampire sheep. It's very funny. Not as good as last season with the fucking killer hamster, which was absolutely hilarious. But you know, with the boys, you are going to get moments of animals now and again. And this was that episode for sure, and it was very funny at times. As they go around this farm looking for what they need, Victoria finds her old partner, who's a scientist working on this virus. And when it comes to having to deal with the killer sheep that's coming after them, they have one dose of the virus and they use it to kill the killer sheep. But at one particular point, though, the guy Samira, Victoria's partner, disappears, and so she believes that the killer sheep have killed him. And we see a body part of his, like a leg, but the reality is Butcher has cut this guy's leg off and taken him away and hidden him somewhere and told him, look, you're going to make more of this fucking virus for us. So Victoria Newman's unaware. Butcher took him. It's absolutely crazy. Stan Edgar goes back to jail, but he was no help whatsoever. I thought he might have died in this episode, but he doesn't end up going to jail. Victoria Newman kills the driver of the car taking him to jail and saves Edgar. I thought she might have killed Edgar there and then, but she didn't. So yeah, it's it was just an absolutely crazy episode. A couple of other things as well, like for instance, Annie, aka Starlight, because of what she did last week, beating up Firecracker. She, and by the way, I just realised her name is Firecracker. It is Firecracker, isn't it? Regardless, because she beat her up, she's going to be sued. Also, Ezekiel, the preacher who can stretch, who was trying to kill Billy Butcher last week, is also dead, and they believe Annie killed him as well. So Annie is under a lot of shit like right now. She's under a lot of stress, and the powers are not working too well either because of all of that. So regarding Annie, she's got a lot on her plate, but Firecracker herself, she was pissed off with Sister Sage for setting her up to get the shit beaten out of her by Annie, but Sister Sage came up with a good rebuttal by saying, isn't it good to actually be a victim instead of pretending to be the victim? And I thought that was a fantastic response. Regarding Sister Sage herself, she is truly becoming a pick-me, hanging around with people who want to look down on her because of who she is, but obviously needing her because of what she offers. So it'll be interesting to see how long she survives, because eventually, she's got no powers at the end of the day, other than her mind. But that's not going to stop somebody like Homelander from fucking crushing her if Homelander comes to realise that all this time Sister Sage was playing fucking 4D chess with him as being one of the pawns. So we'll see how all that pans out. There is a moment regarding the movie Training, A-Train or something like that, the fake film with Will Ferrell and all of that. Absolutely hilarious white man savior movie. And it makes that the Will Ferrell character to be the actual hero as well. So, yeah, it was a really funny, ironic moment, as well as the film industry as well and how people view it, because there's like 2 black members of the 7 now, as well as black noir who people don't know what his race is. So apparently the Seven's being more diverse. They really took the piss out of Disney and the phases. You know, when you see, remember like when you see like Phase 3, Phase 4, Phase 5 and all that shit with all the films on Disney. Well, they've done that with Vought as well, with all the different movies coming out. And they said that was a nice little piss take as well. Yeah, there was just so much that was taking the piss out of the capitalistic machine, and I loved it. I loved it. You know, this show is just so good at making a mockery out of capitalism and evangelicalism and white supremacy to a degree. You know, it's just fantastic. And the people who did love this show and are starting to realize the show was making fun of them all along, where the fuck were you, mate? I mean, how did you not realize it was making fun of you? Only now when you start to see more pieces put together and you realize that shit, this is actually making fun of me, and I'm actually being able to realize it a lot more now. Now you're kind of upset by it. Now you're kind of butthurt by it. You always were the fucking enemy. You are the fucking enemy. You think because of your fucking privilege, all of a sudden you're not going to be seen as the enemy. This show is strictly there to take the piss out of you. You might make fun of left-wing things, but it's more to do with a capitalistic mindset of how capitalism uses themes like diversity and LGBTQ and pride and stuff like that to cash in, you know, like corporations do, you know, when they don't really fucking care. I mean, when fucking Dylan Mulvaney sold the fucking Bud Light, the whole right wing came down on her like she was the fucking devil reincarnated or something. All she did was fucking promote Bud Light. But where was Bud Light for Dylan Mulvaney when she needed them? They were nowhere to be fucking seen. That's capitalism for you, baby. That's white supremacism for you, baby. You know, that's the evil side, and that evil side tends to be the right wing. I know people don't want me to say that. They might be a bit upset by it, but this fucking show is definitely putting a spotlight on it, and I fucking love it for it. Anyway, let me know what you think. I'm going to give this episode a 9 out of 10. It would get a 10 out of 10 if the animal scenes were better than the hamster scene of last season. Unfortunately, it wasn't, so it only gets a 9 this time round. Anyway, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. And if you've already forgotten, the name's NerdTube. Remember it.